Hello everybody, Brian here from quantlabs.net. Today is, I believe, the 18th of October. Yep, that is the date. So I'm going to talk about a few things here. Looking at moving back to Binance. I've been kind of experimenting with it for the last day. Reason is, if you come to the blog, quantlabs.net/blog, you'll get this severe Kraken API issue, make it flaky, makes the whole API experience not too good. Anyways, before I get started, if you are interested in learning about bots, you can always come to quantlabs.net/blog. Sorry, quantlabs.net/book. That will show you how to get a couple of books, some technical stuff on stocks and whatever. And then you just sign up, submit, and you're good to go. All right, so there is that. So let's talk about Binance itself. Okay, first thing first, when you come to see, if you are going to use Python, Java, or PHP, I don't know why, but whatever, you come under the github.com/ccxt. You'll find all the exchanges. Here's a few new ones. Binance, which I'm going to show you, which is the overseas one for out of Malta, probably running out of maybe Japan, and yeah, I don't know about China, but yeah, let's just say Asia. So we have Binance, which is the big exchange. That's the granddaddy. There's a new exchange that they put out called Binance Jersey. And that's for pretty well British. And then the newer one just came out in the last, I guess, month or so, called Binance US. So you can use the same wrapper to all of these different exchanges. So depending upon your region that you live in, you can probably use a form of Binance, but the real one that I'm going to talk about is this one on Binance. So, a couple of big things you need to understand about Binance is first the volumes. The volumes are pretty good for Binance, but the thing is that when you look at the exchanges under adjusted, under CoinMarketCap.com, this is again adjusted. You'll see that Binance is not in the top even 5. It's down here at number 16. There's a lot of these new exchanges. Some of them you got to be very careful on which ones you trust, which ones you don't. And all I know is that there's been a report put out by somebody that says that Binance is the cleanest out of this probably bigger batch. So they're still fairly competitive at 800 million daily. So that's still enough volume to work from. Okay, so knowing that, now let's talk about the different exchanges that you have with Binance. So over the years when I was with Binance before I tried Kraken and the US based ones, there's a lot of these different markets. So you have the BNB markets. BNB earlier this year did really well up until April. Still a big factor. Let me just see its ranking by volume on CoinMarketCap here. So we'll just do the top 100. So BNB, which is the Binance coin, is pretty up there. So it's number 7. So again, that just shows you the volume of Binance itself with its own coin. So there's that market. I'm not sure. Things may have changed where the volumes may have changed. When you look at let's say the 24-hour volume, you can always use that as a comparison. So if you look at BNB, it looks pretty 34. How's that? 1,000? I should. No, that's a period. So that's 34,000 with Ripple, Tron, and Monero's the top 3 in the BNB markets. When you look at the USD, which can be equivalent. Now this is crypto to crypto. This is a crypto exchange, 100%. So there's no fiat currency. So when you look at, so we have USDT, which is Tether, USDC, which I believe is Bitfinex's own. Pax is another one. That these are all supposedly linked to the US dollar. So Tether is the one if you're going to do this. So again, when you look at the BNB markets, you know, you already know that the volume here is at 33,000 roughly for Ripple against BNB. But when you look at something like Bitcoin against Tether, it's 257,000, then it falls down to 56,000. So you know where the big uh, volume is. So you got to look for the 24-hour volume really to know what's worth investigating and what's worth trading. Then we get into let's start with the alts market. The alts market here is all of these. So you have, as a stable coin, you have Ethereum, Tron, and XRP. So in here, let me just list all. Okay, so all's listed. So you have here by volume this Wink against Tron, which is at 13 million bits, BitTorrent at 5 million, and then the next one is, I believe, Zcoin against so that's pretty insignificant. The Zcoin against Ripple. So maybe only these two are worthwhile. BitTorrent and Wink against Tron. Now Tron might be because I believe it's a Asian based coin. So because obviously this exchange here, Binance.com, is based out of Asia, so maybe a lot of the Asians like trading that. I'm not sure. But what I want to highlight here is very, very, very important is the Ethereum market. There's a reason for that, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And then, of course, you have the Bitcoin market as well. And you can see the volumes here. They're fairly big. Link against Bitcoin, Doc against Bitcoin, and Monero against Bitcoin. Okay. So you got to figure out a few things. What kind of strategy you want. Namely, is your strategy mean reverting, or is it momentum based? All the strategies that I've been working on up until a certain point, probably up until in the last week, were all momentum based. So those are good for exchanges where they have fiat currencies like Kraken against US dollar. So those momentum based strategies will work, and that's been confirmed by some high-end traders that know what they're doing from a high-frequency trading shop world, and this is what they're telling me. I can confirm that through my experience. So when you move into an exchange like Binance, you really, to make advantage, because it's crypto to crypto, you want to focus more on mean reverting strategies. So if you did take advantage of my simple moving average with 3 parameters last week, that's more of a mean reverting strategy, and that works pretty good for this type of exchange because it's mean reverting. So if that's the case, you have a higher probability of profiting. So like 80% of all those strategies do profit when the calls are made. With the momentum, it's about 50%. That's what I've been tracking at with the Kraken against US dollar. So the mean reverting will give you a higher percentage of profitability or probability of it. So that brings me to the next question about all these different markets. Where do you go? What do you trade? How, and so on and so forth. So if you want to do a mean reverting type of strategy, Binance is perfect for you. Let me just go over to the blog here. Very important discovery. Again, if you want to learn about this stuff, your best bet is to go to quantlabs.net/book, get a couple of books, PDFs for free, and that'll get you into our newsletter. Okay, so there's an article here on my blog here that I put up about now when you're starting out with bots or any kind of strategy, You can have the option of doing back testing. A lot of the high-end, again, highly profitable, highly experienced uh, traders, automated as well, don't do back testing, oddly, because they don't want to waste their time. They want to get, when they come up with a model or a strategy, they want to get into the market ASAP. So they'll test a model with an account with a very, very small amount, like $100, so that they can kind of test it out. Because if you're doing crypto or forex, is very volatile, so you'll right off the bat be able to test your bot or your model, your algo, in the market, in a real world market with live money, and see how it does, instead of wasting the time on back testing on different periods where you think that these are the worst and you'll make money. All I could tell you about the market, generally, it's very volatile unless there's a sudden move up into Bitcoin, where it's just you could throw whatever at it and still going to make money, or on the downside as well. But lately it's been kind of flat, so these are great market conditions to test models with, because they're not momentum based. So knowing that, if you're comfortable with not really wasting the time on back testing, what I can suggest and what I'm doing now, I'm getting a lot of new algos. I've talked about being able to develop models really fast. Like I could bang out stuff in an hour. I just got 2 new ones yesterday. They're a lot more complicated, but they're not going to take very long. I could probably do them within a day. And the person that provided them spent many months on them. I mean, they're not a programmer, but they had spent quite a few months trying to bang them out. And it's not an easy job. But with my framework that I've got in the course, that again, if you go over to the quantlabs.net/book and you submit, you'll be able to learn more about that, master that framework, I guess you could call it. You'll be able to bang out these models a lot faster, like in a matter of hours. So going back to this, and understanding that it is best to put a trading account together, maybe on something like Binance, and just test it out with a model or a trading idea that you have, and then see where it goes. Now, a couple things, because we have all the different markets in Binance. Like we said, we got BNB, we've got BTC, Bitcoin, the alternatives, which include as a stable coin Ethereum, Tron, XRP, and then the Tether, which is the US dollar linked markets as well. So knowing that, you got to decide 2 things. When you're testing your bot against live money, you want to choose a minimal account, because there's a trading rules on Binance. So let me just I always like using DuckDuckGo sometimes. Okay. So if I wanted to do Binance trading rules, so what I'm going to show you here is the minimum amounts that you need to put together trades. So maybe this one. Okay, so that's Binance US. And then we want Binance trading rules right here, probably, isn't it? Okay, so with all the different markets that we have available, the factor here is the minimum number of, doesn't look like I found it. Anyways, I'm not going to waste anyone's time here. But here are the minimum you need to put an order into Binance to make it get filled. So, for instance, if you want to do Bitcoin, you want to put a minimum amount in Bitcoin to test those positions and the trading logic, the trading rules on your entry and exit. So, to do that, minimum wise, it's going to cost you about $8 roughly, and obviously it changes every day. But as of yesterday, it's around $8 per trade. It's just to test an algo. Okay, so that test is very expensive, and you don't want to do that, because if you got $100 and that's going to give you maybe up to 10 traits that you could test, and if they all lose, you're going to blow up your account. So you want to minimize that. So your next bet is to test USDT, which is tethered, and that's pretty well approximately the same as 10 US dollars. So that's a no-go as well. Then you have this thing called Paxos. That's about $7.83. That makes it useless. The next two, I did test yesterday Ripple. The one I was hoping for was this one in XRP, and based upon the volumes here, you can see that TRX and XRP is a good one to test. So right there, the volume's pretty high. So I thought that's a good one to test. So when I did that, from my experience, just to save you a lot of money, is what happened was I was able to put two test trades in there, and then after that I had not sufficient funds for XRP, because it was only like $10 or $20 20 XRP. So it limited me on that. So with that in mind, you are left with two other options. You can either trade in the test trade in Binance Coin, BNB. So it's going to cost you roughly about $1.86 US dollar. Again, this fluctuates every day. And the next one is Ethereum. So a year ago, before I was doing all this, there was really only BNB, Binance Coin, which was, the volumes were way low, so that was useless. There was Bitcoin, Ethereum. Ethereum had enough volume, plus the cost per trade, minimum wise, was very low, same as we see here. And then you had Tether, and Tether wasn't as popular as it is now, and it's way too expensive, and it was more expensive than Bitcoin. So when you're testing out your new algo or new model or whatever bot, I would just focus on Ethereum only, because Ethereum is very low, but yet it still has enough volume in whatever coins you're testing in against. Ethereum as a stable coin should be sufficient enough to be able to test against a live account with live money, and at the same time be able to pump out test trades at a minimum. I'll be able to report back later on, if that still works, but just from that point of view, that's what I would strongly suggest, because when you go back into the markets and you just focus on Ethereum, you have a lot of pairs to work with, like quite a few. Okay, so I just want to talk about that as well. And if you were just to do a comparison, forget the minimum amount of Bitcoin against Bitcoin or Ethereum as a stable coin, just from a performance perspective, and again, this is a year ago, it may have changed as of now, but I always got better performance when I traded in Ethereum anyways. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the logic that I'm stating here. So remember that, that I do think Ethereum is the best market to trade in. And then as your account gets bigger and you have a working bot that actually profits at a higher consistency, then trade Bitcoin. And then you could evolve and test in other cryptos, as I've shown, or coins. So that's pretty well it. Hopefully I'll help you out. That's 2 videos in one. Congratulations. Again, thanks for watching. And again, if you want to learn more, just sign up. I don't spam. I don't release people's info. It's quantlabs.net/book. Hopefully I'll help you out, and we shall